Okay, thank you. Thank you for the introduction and for inviting me to this conference. And also thanks to the organizers for this trimester. So today I wanted to a free panel for cell trajectories. And it is a joint work with Nicolas Meunier from the University of Évry and Raphaël Voiturier from the University of Paris. So in my talk, I will first present the motivations of the work, and then I will describe the deterministic model that we built for crawling migration. And finally, I will talk about the stochastic version of the model, giving rise to numerical trajectories that we can then analyze. Okay, as we saw already yesterday, cell migration is a very fundamental phenomenon, and it is involved in a lot of important processes. For instance, here on the video, you see an immune cell that is chasing a bacterium. So it is a small black dot moving. And so cell migration is also involved, for example, in morphogenesis, and also on pathological processes like tumor metastasis. And this will be the object of the future talk, next talk of Sébastien. And actually, cells are able to produce this behavior that is quite fascinating, and they are able to migrate on very different geometries. For example, they can adhere on the surface and crawl. They can also move for example, lymph vessels. So they move in confinement in microtubes, and they can also migrate in 3D, for example, in the brain. So the big question is, how do cells do that? How are they able to migrate in all these different ways? And in fact, the cell is an active entity, and it is able to produce forces that are exerted on these environments. And for that, the cell relies on what is called the actomyosin cytoskeleton. So it's a set of filaments, as you see here, that are very active. So they are able to polymerize, to depolymerize, to bind one with another, and it creates a very dynamic mesh. Okay. The idea here, for example, for crawling migration on a surface, is that these filaments can polymerize at the cell boundary, so they push the membrane, and inside the cell they can depolymerize, and this generates some forces that drive the motion. Another important fact is that all this activity involves a very large number of molecules that regulate all the events that take place. And these molecules are also organized in complex molecular pathways. So this combination drives all the diversity of behaviors that we observe. Okay. So the other big question now is, well, the cells are able to do very different things in their migration, but can we find a general rule of migration? Can we find something that all the cells have in common? And this question was investigated by a group of biologists and physicists and biophysicists, and in particular in the two articles that I write here. So the first one was called the First Whole Cell Race. So 10 years ago, the idea was to drive large-scale migration assays across several laboratories where different cell types were migrating on the same 1D tracks. So here the video shows, I think it's the final. And so the idea was to perform some measure in a controlled settings for very different cells. And it turns out that what was observed is that the straightness of trajectories, the tendency to go in the same direction for these cells was positively correlated with the cell speed. So the faster cell goes straighter in a way. And then it led to more experiments to confirm this observation and to go more into the details. And it leads to this second paper where it was confirmed that actually we can quantify the straightness of trajectories using, for example, the persistence time of a trajectory, so the typical time at which a cell goes in a given direction. And this persistence time was found to be exponentially correlated to the cell velocities. And this coupling was called the universal coupling between cell speed and persistence, or UCSP. And in this paper also, the authors develop a model to try to, they propose an explanation for this coupling first, and then they write a model to try to confirm it. So according to them, this coupling is due to the effect of the cytoskeleton activity on some molecular cues and on the feedback loop existing between both. So here you can witness the actin cytoskeleton. So remember that we have filaments polymerization at the boundary and depolymerization inside, and this creates a flow from the boundary of the cell to the interior of the cell. And actually this flow is able to exert some forces on the environment, and it is responsible for the displacement of the cell. Now, the author says that some molecules can bind to these actin filaments, and so they can be transported by the inward flow. And this makes it possible to relate the generation of forces leading to cell displacement and the concentration in some molecules inside the cell that can characterize the polarity of the cell. Namely, the idea is that when the inward flow, the actin flow is moderate, then some molecules can be advected and it can produce a small gradient of concentration inside the cell, whereas when the actin flow is more important, then it can really lead to a very large gradient in molecular concentration. And moreover, if the molecule in question is a molecular regulator of the actin dynamics, then we form a feedback loop between the cytoskeleton and the molecular regulators, and the polarity of the cell can be sustained. And since the polarity is responsible for the persistence and the straightness of trajectories, then we can justify the coupling between speed and persistence. Okay, so to check this proposition, the physicists proposed a phenomenological model in the paper. So the idea is to consider not really the whole cell in 2D, but only the polarization axis of the cell. So we consider a segment here that is 0L. Sorry. Okay. And so the first thing is that the molecular cue has a concentration that I do not see, and that diffuses in the polarity axis and is also transported by the actin velocity. And here the actin velocity writes U. So this is what is written in the first equation. And on the right-hand side, they put a stochastic noise term that I won't detail here. And then they claim is that they can write the mean actin flow velocity as proportional to the difference in concentration of molecules between the back of the cell and the front of the cell. So the larger the gradient in concentration, and the larger the mean actin flow will be. And so this coupling is what drives the UCSP in their opinion. And then for the migration of the cells, I simply consider that it is opposite to the actin flows. And then they are able to write an active Brownian particle model for the cell velocity. So we have a stochastic differential equation for the module of the cell velocity. And we also have a diffusion equation on the angle of the polarity axis. And the fact that this angle of polarity depends on the inverse of the velocity modules drives also the fact that for larger velocity modules, then the polarity axis will not move. Okay, and so the cell will go straight. And so with this model, they can validate the UCSP and go back to the exponential correlation. And they can also explore behaviors of trajectories, and they can obtain some phase diagram. So our goal here was to take the same modeling hypothesis and to try to derive a more complete 2D model that would then validate what they observed and provide a real mechanical and chemical description of the cell. So now I will explain to you how we built, what the model looks like. Okay. So as for them, we consider a molecular Q inside the cell that has some concentration C. It diffuses inside the cell. So here our cell is simply a rigid disk. So we don't take into account the deformation for now. And the molecules in blue diffuses in the cell, and they are also transported by the actin flows, which are the arrows here. And since we consider that these molecules can act back on the actin polymerization at the cell boundary, then we add a reaction term on the boundary to activate the molecules, meaning that at some rates the molecules are activated, and then they are able to act back on the dynamics of the cytoskeleton. So on the equation, it translates in an advection diffusion equation first for the molecular concentration, and we add a reaction term at the boundary to describe the exchange. So in the following, I will write new deconcentration in activated molecules on the boundary. Okay, so now I present to you the model for the actin cytoskeleton. And the idea is to describe it by a fluid, which is valid at some time scales. So about the fluid pressure, then we want to describe the fact that there is polymerization at the boundary, depolymerization in the bulk. And so for that, we write a Poisson equation on the pressure, where we have a term here on the right-hand side that describes depolymerization in the cell. And we have a directly boundary condition on P that will depend on the concentration in activated molecules. Okay. And this is where we put our coupling between the fluid and the molecules. And then for the fluid velocity, we rely on the force balance principle. So at first we can write a Stokes equation involving fluid viscosity and the friction force. However, here, since we focus on Crowley migration, the friction forces are very large compared to the viscosity. And so we can reduce the equation to Darcy law, relating the actin flow velocity, the pressure of the actin fluid, and the cell velocity. And finally, so we can choose some particular function for the coupling, for the feedback of the molecules on the fluid. And here we choose a decreasing function, meaning that the molecules are characteristic of the rear of the cell. So if we have a lot of activated molecules on the part of the boundary, it will inhibit polymerization and then prevent the existence of an actin flow on this part of the membrane. Okay, and finally for the cell velocity, so we use the fact that we consider a system at mechanical equilibrium, and we balance the friction forces that arise. First, the friction forces related to the actin flows inside the cell, here in blue, and also the friction force related to the cell displacement on the surface. And so we obtain a cell velocity that will depend on the pressure of the fluid on the boundary. So then on the polymerization term, so which is realistic, and we can also relate it to the concentration in activated molecules. Okay, so this model gathers all the ingredients that we need. About the parameters, we can distinguish two main trends. So first, the diffusion coefficient D will tend to homogenize the cell concentration, so it acts against the polarization. KD, the depolymerization rate, it tends to drive all the molecules towards the center. So these parameters go against cell polarity. On the contrary, the parameter delta here will, and gamma behind, they will ensure that we have a strong coupling between the fluid and the molecules. Finally, for the reaction term at the boundary, then we have K on and K off. But if we consider that the deactivation rate is non-zero and we divide by it, then we can see that actually K off will drive the time scale at which there is activation of the molecules, and we will simply focus on the quotient K on over K off in the following. So next, I will show you some simulations, and for these simulations, I fixed a lot of these parameters and simply made delta and K on over K off vary. Okay, so for numerical simulations, first of the deterministic model, we used finite volumes method for space discretization, and this ensures that the molecular mass is conserved at the numerical level. And we made some simulations for these initial conditions. So on the left, you have the molecular concentration at the beginning. You can see that you have more molecules on the left, and it leads to a pressure field on the middle, where the pressure is more important on the right, since the molecule is characteristics of the rear. And the arrows show the actin velocity field. So here driving towards the left of the cell. And this configuration can lead to an initial cell velocity that then will be non-zero, since the pressure at the boundary of the cell is not homogeneous. Okay, so driving these simulations, first we can look at the stationary states that arise, and we distinguish two main trends. So when the coupling is weak, then the stationary state will be radially symmetric. So we have the molecules gathering in the center of the cell. In the second figure, you can see a chemograph. So the idea is that horizontally you have the angle. So we look at the concentration of molecules at the boundary of the cell. And vertically you have time. So initially it does not show very well here, but we have the initial polarization concentration of the molecules on the left. And then we can see that quite rapidly then it homogenizes to few molecules homogeneously reported around the cell. And for the pressure field also, we observe that we go towards a radially symmetric profile. When the coupling is strong, however, we observe cell polarity that is sustained. So the molecules aggregates on the left of the cell, and about the concentration in activated molecules, we can see on the chemograph that we have a strong polarization on this part of the membrane. And also on the pressure field and on the advection field, we can see the counterpart of the molecular concentration. So this is already interesting since it shows that different behaviors are captured by the model. About the cell velocities, then naturally it leads to one situation where the cell stops or have a very low velocity and another where the cell moves. Okay, so now we wanted to characterize the polarization of the cell. And for that, we computed some polarity index that is defined based on the resultant vector length of the molecular concentration on the boundary. So we compute this integral on the boundary of mu n. And the idea is that the more the cell is polarized and the more the resulting vector will have a norm that is large. So this is basically what we compute. And it leads to the following parameter space depending on the two parameters that I told you about, driving the coupling between fluid and molecules. And so here it confirms that we have really two regimes, one with a stationary resting state and one with a stationary traveling state. Okay, and so now the idea is to go towards cell trajectories. So for that, we wanted to add stochastic perturbations to the model, and we choose to perturb the advection velocity in the molecular problem, since this way the molecular mass is still conserved. So the idea rapidly is to add a perturbation to the velocity that is driven by a Q-Wiener process. So the idea is just to think of a white noise, but that has some space correlations. So close points will have close perturbations. And maybe I will keep it that short for that. And so with this stochastic perturbation, then we can witness several behaviors. So in the case of a weak coupling, then the molecular concentration will show several spots inside the cell. For the chemograph, I don't know how much you can see it, but we have very slight shades showing that we have some attachment in very different parts of the membrane. And the cell velocity will be stochastic and very low. For a strong coupling, however, we see a clear polarization of the cell. And on the chemograph, it's very interesting. We can really follow the location of the pole of the cell in time. And we can see that this polarity axis evolves in a continuous way. The cell velocity then is stochastic and around a non-zero value. And finally, we found also some that for intermediate coupling between the fluid and the molecules, then we had a kind of alternance between phases where the cell is strongly polarized. And on the chemograph, we can see the polarity axis quite clearly. And at some point, the polarity is lost due to the stochastic perturbations. And then we lose track of the polarity axis, and we can witness some reorganization inside the cell. For the cell velocity, it's we also show we see the switch between the ballistic trajectory and the Brownian motion. So it was very interesting. And then on the trajectories, we could check that the morphologies of trajectories were very different, and were exploring different ranges of territories. So on the right, you can also see the mean square displacements computed for them, where, well, it's not surprising now, but for larger coupling, we get more persistent trajectories. Also, we can look at the velocity histograms of the cells. And we witness a transition from a kind of Gaussian shape of the cell velocity towards an annulus shape 1, meaning that for low coupling, the velocity values stay, I mean, here it's a bit biased, it's not exactly to 0, but they stay small. For large coupling, then we have non-zero velocities all the time. And for the intermediate coupling, we have the two regimes that go together. And then we wanted to compare with the results of the UCSP paper. So in this paper, they showed different experimental trajectories that they related to velocity modules, where in the Brownian case, the low coupling case, we have an histogram that goes near zero. For the persistent case, we have an histogram that stays away from zero, and in the intermediate case, we have a bit of both. So here they color the trajectories and the histogram depending on the velocity, depending on the threshold. And we did the same with our own threshold, and we obtained the same types of behaviors. So in particular, in the intermittent situation, we can see the alternance between persistent motion and redirection. Okay, and finally, we wanted to check if we could have the exponential coupling between the cell speed and persistence. And for that, we had to cut the trajectories into persistent path, as they did in the paper. So here, a persistent path is defined by being a path where the direction of motion does not change of more than 90 degrees from the initial direction. If it goes above 90 degrees, then we cut the trajectories and it's a persistent path. And then we can obtain the typical time of this persistent path and the mean velocity that the cell had during this period. And if we look at this numerical data on the right, then we can find an exponential correlation between persistence time and velocity. As is found, so on the left, you can see that experimentally for a type of cells that does 2D migration. So here on the experimental parts, we also witness a saturation for higher velocity values. That is not clearly here in our numerical figure, but for more Brownian behavior, then we obtain also the saturation. So it is very nice for us to go back to all these results and to provide this fully 2D model for cell migration. And so to conclude, I show you a minimal 2D model of cell crawling migration that is based on the ideas of the physical model of Mayuri et al. It is based on the coupling between the actin flows and the molecules. And it allows to find back several migration regimes and several trajectories, typically Brownian trajectories, intermittent one, and ballistic ones. And also we can predict the exponential correlation that exists between cell persistence and cell speed, which shows that it is a good model that we can explore in the future. So as perspectives, then we can try also to go back to a phase diagram of cell trajectories. But also we can take advantage on the 2D description on the molecular concentration, since here we showed cases where the polarity was clear and following a given axis, but at some point maybe a cell can show several poles in its concentration. So this can be explored with the model. And also, of course, the formulation allows to describe mechanical and chemical interactions with the environment. And obviously the main perspective is about investigating the link between cell shape and the trajectories. And so that's the end of my talk. Thank you for your attention.
Thank you. So this is a simple question. You first introduced a PDE model that described the flow inside, from which you deduced the velocity, right? And then you introduced a Brownian motion. So this is just another model, or I was confused at that point. Or did that make sense in biology?
Well, so it was the same model as here, except that the advection velocity was perturbed stochastically. So the physics of the is the same. We touch at it. Simply, it describes the noise that can occur in the advection of molecules on the actin filaments. I mean, it is reasonable. The physicists in the paper, they choose to add a stochastic perturbation on the right-hand side of the molecular problem. It's, I mean, it's reasonable. Okay.
Thank you.
Is there any other questions? Okay, so maybe we have online questions.
How could you incorporate the effect of mechanical interactions between a cell and the extracellular matrix in this framework? Have you thought about that?
So here, in the case of crawling, it would be on the whole domain, if I understand correctly the question. And so I would say that then the forces or I mean, let's say forces. Okay, if we want to take into account some additional forces in the interaction between the cell and the substrate, finally, then it can be involved in the force balances that we consider, either on the fluid problem and on the cell velocity.
Okay, thank you.
Thanks.
Okay, thank you, Christelle, and we will move to the next speaker.
Thank you.